Okay, hello my cohorts. I'm gonna be watching the Blue Lips official MV, so I'm curious to see like what kind of visuals they use to kind of express like the lyrics, and then also like what direction they go with, because the song is a little bit more on the moody kind of like chiller side. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and watch, y'all.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
swimming in the pool, thought we were going out for dinner. Made me find tipo, made me trip, made me a fool. It's like it's such a thriller.
So this is like a kind of full circle moment because like we know
Drowning and drowning, deeper and deeper. All I see is blue. I feel my body shiver.
because Lullaby was also in a pool.
Holding my breath, but shit, it's getting thinner.
Also, I like how everything's like in this blue filter.
Talking to the moon, drips fell elusive, but what else do we got? This is what we choose.
Or like this, it went from Front Hole to like James, kind of like how the song goes.
That now say still racing life's clock. Wanna change views? I need something else and a new why. Blue flame getting put out. These days getting too tough. In a chat trying to sneak out. Choosing the flag cause you can't hide.
Every day fighting for peace signs. Roll with the whale like a seaside.
Chasing magic, bro, my feet tired. Get to the end and then rewind. My blue lips, my blue lips, my blue lips, my blue lips, my blue
Oh. Oh, they're gonna. Oh, I was gonna say they're gonna pan up to the moon. Okay. Yeah, so very like kind of again more on that moody kind of sound side, because like that's how the song is. It's just very like kind of like them having like a conversation with them, or like a kind of, it kind of reminds me of like an inner monologue, essentially, like what you're like what they're thinking like in their head. I know I did also mention like how it reminds me a lot of like Mac Miller's like style of music, where like he kind of does like make you think a lot like on the lyrics, but it's also like very them with how, again, it's like their thoughts about, them basically like having to grow up kind of fast to like fit into this new like life, or career move that they decided to do, which again, like, it is a choice that they make, but they are like sacrifices you have to make, which one of them is like, again, if you decide to do it, or if you decide to become a trainee, it's like something that you start at very young age. So they kind of like sacrifice, like, how every other like friend of theirs probably who wasn't a trainee got to like, experience like everything that you get to experience, like, making friends, going like hanging out here and there, like going on field trips and stuff like that. It's something they had to like sacrifice in order to, you know, go through all of this to become and make it big in their dream, essentially. So I like how it was like very simple. Again, it's like very much kind of how the Lullaby MV was, where like they're also like they did it in a pool, but for that one they obviously did it with the perspective of like being like through the Coke can first, and then like it's just them kind of messing around and having fun. Where here it's like more on a deeper kind of more kind of on the sadder or kind of like sadder, like realistic side with the lyrics and just like the vibe in general. Because we start off again with Gunho like already in the pool, like he's been holding his breath under the water, and then he's kind of resurfacing. And once he's like resurfaced, then everyone else starts coming in, and then of course like James' part, like where we see like him like his like back essentially like being inside where everyone has already kind of walked out, and then like his part starts and he goes out and like stands or sits next to Gunho. So like, oh, I like how they kind of like followed up with that, and then everyone else like kind of chimes in too. But I kind of wonder like, did they do Gunho in the pool by himself first because he is the Magne? So like them kind of talking about like, oh, like the inner child, because like he is like quote unquote the youngest, even though of course we all know that him and Sung Hyun are basically the same age, just a couple months apart. And then Martin is still also like Martin and Joohoon are still like also like in their teen years. So like it's like, oh, so I wonder if that's like kind of why they went that direction with it. But it's just very simple, very straight to the point, very like just kind of based on like the vibes, but also you could like how they kind of again expressed like the blue like filter over it, kind of like how sometimes you like see like if you are a little bit like feel like you're stuck in like a loop essentially, like where the day just keeps repeating and repeating, you do kind of I feel like you can get a little bit depressed and essentially like be like see the world like in like as blue. So like you just see like everything like that where it's like more on the sad depressing side or more on the pessimistic side. But I do like at the end you got to see like that Joohoon joined Gunho in the pool, and everyone's just kind of like hanging out having fun, or not fun but like hanging out outside, and then it pans up to like the moon, which they did bring up in the song lyrics as well. So it like makes you think like, oh, maybe they're just like going for like a late night swim to kind of clear their heads essentially is kind of what it's giving me. But again, I really like this song. It's very more on the chill side, which I like how they ended off the album with this song. Because again, all the other songs have been more on the like energetic, like kind of like aggressive like vibe, and then this kind of like balances it out because it's more on the like, oh, it's like the ending or you're ending on like a low note essentially after like starting at a high point is what it's kind of giving. But also like within the rest of the songs on the album have been them like discovering like who they are as people, like as artists, as kind of through their experiences of again having to grow up a little too soon to like pursue what their dream is, and finally kind of making it big so quickly and having to like bear with those new like responsibilities, but also bear with those new like kind of like those new somewhat like burdens of stardom, where like you have all eyes on you at all times and everything you do gets judged and scrutinized. So it's kind of like that. But obviously we know like they are, so far we have seen them being like really great of like, we will do what we want to do, like we don't care like what anyone else says about us. But I think this for sure, like music is a way to have an outlet to like talk about like what you really feel and like truly feel, and kind of like express themselves that way. So that's kind of what we get through like a song like this, where maybe like kind of like how Red Red was like them like saying like, oh, like let's not play it safe. And then we had TNT kind of like talking about like how they exploded essentially like really quickly in terms of like stardom and breaking out that way, and then also like them kind of addressing like the haters and all that stuff through the rest of the songs too. So we get to like this part where they're being a little bit more like vulnerable and kind of sharing a little piece of themselves of like, oh yeah, we may seem like smiles all outside, but it is hard, like it is not an easy career choice, especially for us being so young. So I think I liked how this song is more on the more like them like vulnerable side of them, kind of talking about like what their inner thoughts might be or might have been, because like we know that Martin wrote this like whenever he was a trainee, and they kind of like brought it back out of his like vault essentially. But like I think the sentiment is still very true and very valid of like them always feeling like they're stuck into like a cycle of like they're always busy, always traveling, always having to like again sacrifice certain things like maybe like sleep, or like having to be always busy. So like again, it is part of what comes with becoming an idol or being in the music industry, especially like the K-pop industry, where they're constantly coming out with like with albums, or constantly working on music, constantly doing something. Like they're always on the move, they're always promoting at some point. Obviously, like there's nothing wrong with them getting a break, which I know for now it's like the beginnings of, you know, them kind of still like building up their discography and again who they are as a group and like that identity. But you know, I hope at some point they do get to like get a break like here and there, because you know, it sometimes a break is a good thing for it helps like, you know, them kind of get to relax mentally as well as physically. But yeah, I really enjoyed the MV. Again, it's very straightforward, very simple, but again, simplicity is sometimes the best thing you can have when it comes to like, or straightforwardness to it too as well. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I shall see you in the next one.